Pep Guardiola has ruined football, and if you can't see it, unfortunately, you're part of the problem too. That's what so many people say on social media. You see it on the street, you see it when you're talking to your friends. Everyone thinks Pep Guardiola, and the wider topic of stats and analytics and numbers, people think that has ruined the game of football. But is this really true? I mean, when you look at Man City, they dominate teams, they control possession, they barely let any chances through, and obviously they win all the trophies. But has that thrill, has that excitement been lost? Everyone remembers the Barclays men trends where you see people scoring from 30, 40 meters out, but has that feeling been lost from the game? And is football that we kind of see as the beautiful game, is it just a boring chess match now? Well, you've come to the right video, because today I'm going to be exploring why and how Pep Guardiola has killed the game, and we're going to talk about a wider subject of, has numbers and stats and data analytics, has that also ruined football too? So get a drink, have a tea, have a coffee, whatever that you drink right now, and enjoy the video. When we talk about it, firstly, why do people say Pep Guardiola has ruined the game of football? One of the main complaints about Pep Guardiola has been his style. People say because Pep Guardiola controls all of the games and eventually has won all of the trophies because he's been controlling all the games, it's now led to an epidemic spreading through the entirety of football, because people think, okay, if Pep Guardiola is playing like this, we can play like this too as well. You're controlling the game, you're controlling transitions, and you're basically draining and suffocating the game, taking it away from the opponent, and you're kind of just saying, okay, if we have the ball, you don't have the ball, and because you don't have the ball, you're not going to score on us. And that basically means games are very one-sided when they play against Manchester City. And some people say it's like watching a game that's already been pre-planned, it's lacking those unpredictable moments, and it's lacking the feeling that we all had growing up watching football. And some people, like people call them the tacticos, they really enjoy that side of football. They enjoy the problem solving. I personally am one of those people, but let's get down into some numbers. I mean, just last season alone, Manchester City averaged 64% possession in all of their games.
My bad, I got the number wrong. It's not 64, it's 65.42. My bad.
It was the highest in the league last season. They controlled the flow of most of the games. They had the highest field tilt. Essentially, they played most of their games in the opposition half. And that control approach also led to the opposition barely conceding and creating meaningful chances against Manchester City last season. And the way that some fans see football, it's kind of like, okay, when we're watching Pep Guardiola, when we're watching Manchester City, because they're unable to concede a lot of goals, or they don't concede a lot of goals, those lack of goals mean to a lack of entertainment. But I feel it's in a way where, because Guardiola strangleholds the game and Guardiola completely nullifies the opposition threat, it's like, okay, I'm just watching a training match over and over and over again when I watch a Man City game. So it makes me think, is that lack of unpredictability, does that make football boring? Does that make Pep Guardiola boring? Or are we just used to expecting constant drama from a football game? And to answer that question, I feel that we need to take a step back. When Pep Guardiola came into football, I feel what he's done is redefine the status and the mindset of the way the game is played. I mean, when he came into Barcelona, I feel that that's where football kind of changed in a way, because in between 2008 and 2012, we can genuinely say that Pep Guardiola and that Barcelona team completely revolutionized football. They won 14 trophies, including 2 Champions Leagues, and we all remember that high point of the 5-0 against Real Madrid, the 6-2 against Real Madrid, and we saw it as attacking brilliance. But when he moved to Bayern Munich, I think things slightly changed. I mean, despite Pep Guardiola and Bayern Munich winning 3 consecutive Bundesliga titles, Pep's Bayern was known for suffocating control. They held 70% of possession on average every single game, and I don't think field tilt was a stat back then, but they must have had like a 90 or an 80% field tilt in all of their games. There's this rhetoric that goes around that Pep Guardiola won Germany the World Cup in 2014, but there's real signs to it. But in Germany also, with the way that the German football is played in terms of the end-to-end stuff, there were a lot of critics as well. And they basically said, whilst Pep Guardiola dominated football domestically, there was a lack of je ne sais quoi. There was a lack of cutting edge when it came to the Champions League. So then he embarked on his new challenge. He moved to Manchester City, and we all know what happened there. The first 2 or 3 seasons, they were exhilarating. The 2017-18 season, the 18-19 season, everyone remembers this free-flowing, attacking football with Sane and Sterling and Aguero up front, with Kevin De Bruyne at his best, David Silva at his best. All of these players were there to shine, and they really elevated Man City, and they elevated football to a completely different level. I mean, under Pep Guardiola, they scored the most goals in a season, they recorded the most points in a season, and they recorded the largest title winning margin in the 2017-18 season. Yet, despite all of these remarkable achievements, it feels like some people say that this dominance kind of made City games too predictable, especially later down the line. Because football has gotten increasingly physical and has become more of a running man sport in a way that it wasn't in the past, it feels that Guardiola's tactical adjustments, such as playing, I don't know, the 4 centre-backs, the 4 centre-backs is a huge drawback of the way Pep Guardiola plays, but we're seeing nowadays Pep Guardiola has an increasing desire for control, because this strategy limits counter-attacks, but it often leads to matches that feel methodical and slow-paced, and it reduces that open play feeling that everyone has been craving. So I think this entire debate begs a bigger question. Is it really Pep's fault? Or has football just moved on, and has football just evolved from back in the day? Because I feel like some of us are just blaming Pep Guardiola for something that's just a bit bigger than him. The truth is, football has changed. We're not going to be seeing Mavericks anymore. We're not going to be seeing a Ronaldinho, a Zidane, an R9, a Rivaldo, a Kaká. We're not going to be seeing these types of players. And to take it one step further, I don't even think we're going to be seeing a Neymar anymore. Because the way football is, the general level of football players have improved. It's evident to see. But because everything else has gone up and the average has gone up, it means the Mavericks, the players that can completely shine ahead of the rest, that won't be happening as often. Football does not reward the risk takers anymore. Football rewards the risk avoiders. Because today, football teams, they focus on control, they focus on structure, they focus on efficiency, and they don't focus on flair in the way that they used to in the past. And this is a widespread thing across every single sport. Football and sport rewards efficiency. Football does not reward the dreamers, the artists, and the experimenters. And we're seeing this completely from the top to the bottom of the Premier League. The average possession rate in the Premier League went from 50.7% in 2010-2011 to 54% in the 23-24 season. And this shift reflects across the board on how teams are placing a greater emphasis on control regardless of their individual playing style. But I feel like we need to put some respect on Pep Guardiola's name. We're seeing some of the greatest attacking players in the world under him. We've seen Aguero, we've seen Sane, we've seen Sterling, we've seen David Silva, we've seen Kevin De Bruyne, we've seen Erling Haaland. We've seen so many of these players really gravitate and shine under Pep Guardiola. I mean, just last season alone, they scored 96 Premier League goals, which is second in their all-time list. Now, that'll come onto a separate video that we're gonna make, because I feel like defending has kind of fallen off a cliff in the Premier League, but it's to show that the games are still there. I feel like there's still over or just under 3 goals a game on average in every single Premier League match. We still need to put some respect on Pep Guardiola's name here. So his football may be about control, but it doesn't mean that it lacks moments. So we've seen Phil Foden, we've seen, I don't know, a Gundogan goal, we've seen a Kevin De Bruyne goal. We still have those moments under him, but unfortunately with the way football has gone, it rewards efficiency and it does not reward risk. So it just makes me think, have stats ruined football? Have numbers ruined football? Has this whole efficiency movement ruined football? Or is it the way that we think about the game? I mean, in recent years, we're seeing an increased use of stats. Obviously, we have XG, we have progressive carries, we have shot creating actions, we have FBref, we have Scoreco, which is very hypocritical because this is the Scoreco channel, but they've become central to football and they've become central to every single football discussion. But have these stats ruined the game, or are they simply giving us an opportunity to understand the game in a completely different way? Even if we use something as simple as XG, which attempts to qualify the likelihood of a shot being scored, it gives us such a clear picture on how well a team or a player is going to do, especially over the course of a season. I mean, when when you have stats like progressive carries, key passes, expected goal involvement, they're all tools to really understand how good a player is. But with numbers, and the biggest thing about numbers is that it's the way that we perceive these numbers when we're basing our judgments. For me, I feel that the number test or the eye test, I feel that they should be used hand in hand, but the numbers should only back up what you see. Because you can't, for example, use all of these numbers and try to think, okay, this player is amazing, but when we look at them, they're not the best to watch and they're not the greatest player on the eye. But according to the numbers, they are the best player in the world. So maybe the real issue isn't that Pep Guardiola or stats or all of these numbers have ruined football. It's just the way that we perceive the game. I feel that because we're not as young anymore and we have responsibilities in our life, of course, we are going to view football in a different way, and the way that we used to use football in the past as an escape may potentially not be the same anymore. And because some people, not me or not you watching this, some people, instead of appreciating the art and the chaos of the football, some of them have just reduced it to numbers and statistics, and we do sometimes miss out on the emotional and the spontaneity of football, which kind of makes me and you, or kind of makes us, drawn to the game in a way that we were in the past. But at the end of the day, stats, Pep Guardiola, all of these things, they haven't ruined the game. They're just one piece of the puzzle. And football at its core will always be more than numbers on a page. So if you like that video, please subscribe. We're trying to hit you guys up with weekly videos like this. So leave a comment, let us know down below in the comments what you want to see next. We've been Squawker. You guys have been our loyal subscribers. Take care, and I'll see you very soon for another video.